Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about the whole rumor about Watchmen and their loss of 200,000 people for watching the show after two episodes. My whole thoughts about the whole situation is I feel like it's sad and it's very confusing to me because I feel like for one thing, it's very interesting. The whole show is very interesting in its work of art in its own way, only because of the fact that it talks about racism and it's not just like an everyday black and white show. Even Angela, the main character, who is like the main black female superhero, which I feel like we strongly do need for representation. In many ways than one, we do need another like mainstream black female character, especially one that fights back against racist oppression. I mean, shoot, even some people make an argument over the fact of if I had to make a quick comic reference, some people honestly have their own statements for Storm, not Storm as a character, but Storm for her representation. Where some people be like, "Well, Storm's skin tone is not correct in comics," or this and that, make some certain complaints about her. But my thing is this though: Storm or like Bumblebee from DC Universe to other black female characters, it's like they're good, but at the same time, it's arguable that I don't think that honestly, aside from Misty Knight from Marvel Universe, arguably, I don't think there's that many black female characters that do show like concrete empowerment against racism per se. You can probably put in a story. Any comic book developer could probably make a story and point out that they fight against like racist oppression one way or the other, or there probably could have been feats. But aside from that, it's just long story short, I just feel like Angela is just a good addition to the whole roster of black characters who are heroic that are especially strong black female character because by the end of the day, again, I still made the argument there's probably not that many black female heroic characters who fight against like racist oppression like that. That or if they do, it's not always like 100% shown per se like that a lot. I mean, again, you have like certain characters like Storm and etc. because she's always put in that position. She's a mutant, of course, and that doesn't per se demean or demean like the whole existence of her fighting off oppression in her own way, especially being a mutant. Because shoot, even me as a blurred slash black person, being a black nerd, I see the word mutant as just a plain common word. Mutant is I also see the word being like I guess in a way a double meaning to it, whether it be negative or positive in a sense. I see the word mutant as Negro or honestly being African American, etc. I see it in those terms that in different ways, having a double meaning to it in some ways. But back to Watchmen though, because that's Marvel Universe. We're talking about DC. My thing with people like flaking, all these 200,000 people flaking from this show, I feel like it's just sad. And honestly, I feel like they need to get back on the bandwagon because it is a woke show. This show is a good woke show. I mean, it talks about white supremacy. It talks about honestly this main black female character going against it. She even makes like very good, strong statements such as honestly, I don't believe in sunshine and rainbows in the real world or just in the world in general because by the end of the day, the real world is nothing but black and white, and it kind of pro- if you look between the lines of that statement alone, she's stuck on a fact that honestly, just the whole factor of racism itself. Because by the end of the day, there are times in the series I say personally there are shades of gray, but I kind of also understand a lot why she's uses the terminology black and white more than just shades of gray. It's because of the fact of again this show talks about racial injustice. I feel that or just going against white supremacy one way or the other, and in a variety of ways. First, it talked about the Tesluska like fiasco in episode 1, and then on episode 2 it goes back to it or reference it by having that kid, that black kid who just had like a terrible backstory when it happened, when the whole Tesluska like situation happened. And then he's shown as an old man in episode 1 when he asked a woman, do you think I lift 200 pounds? And then he shows back up in episode 2 telling Angela, the main character slash woman, go to your my family friend's house and honestly investigate their house, because I feel like there's something you need to see or something that you need to know. And that also goes beyond the fact that the old man says statements like, I could have power similar to Dr. Manhattan, or he has friends in high places. He says statements like that in episode 2. Now, again, dude was there when the whole situation with the whole Tesluska like situation, and on top of that, he's there when talking to Angela, which is his granddaughter, and you learn this in episode 2. Now, when talking about Angela, another statement that she says that points out to me that she goes against white supremacy is the fact that she has a nose for people that are bleached, or, you know, just have a nose for bleach, something like that. I know that's not the same terminology or the same words that she said it like that, but it's similar. But long story short, I feel like she's a good addition to black female characters that are strong, and honestly that means something, and it's a symbol. Not just a symbol who fight right and have empowerment, but also a symbol that is empowerment that goes against white supremacy and anything that's negative against prejudice to just like racial racism altogether. For God's sake, I feel like honestly we need this type of show. We need Watchmen HBO version as a show, because by the end of the day, for one, it has good messaging, and two, it's just the fact that honestly is good representation for us. As new good representation. And I still argue this because by the end of the day, if that weren't the case, we as black people wouldn't only have but a sole handful of mainstream black characters that we could cosplay or make costumes of or fall back on. I mean, it's a good thick few of mainstreams, but yet again, I bet you there's not that many people that probably know certain black characters such as like I don't know, like Moon Girl from Marvel Universe, or honestly, mm, I try to remember. This is a black hero characters such as like Blue Marvel from also like Marvel Universe, which is technically like the black Superman of that universe technically, because dude is so freaking overpowered, and his main resource is nothing but negative energy compared to Superman being solar energy. But aside from all that, look, my biggest thing with Angela being a vigilante is not just the fact that she's a vigilante that's trying to fight for good, kind of like what Batman and his whole Bat family does, if I have to be bold enough to say that, or any other like vigilante that does the same thing or hero. But she's also a person with her own morals that are grounded to the fact that she's against racism and just white supremacy itself. She even proves that when she felt like she was lied to or honestly just smacked with a handful of bricks when learning that her old partner could have been a KKK member when she found that white cloak KKK member, like, I guess, wardrobe in his like house when investigating her family friend's house. And on top of that, the cloak also had a sheriff badge on it. So that also proves more that that could have been his. And you could see that she felt like she was lied to and felt like she was vulnerable at that time when walking out that house, the way that she looked shocked at the whole situation when after investigating the house. Again, I feel like honestly we need this show because it's good representation, and on top of that, I don't know, it goes against white supremacy itself. And I feel like with this day and era of being more about like racial differences and just racial problems itself, or I guess racial problems rearing its head thicker and deeper more as as a topic. I feel like in a sense it I feel like in a sense we should have this as a show. Now, if I also had to be bold about another side statement or a random statement, it would be just the fact of if people complaining that the show is too woke, I'm gonna say this: who? No offense, with all due respect, I kind of say who cares in the sense if it's too woke, arguably. The only reason why I say arguably who cares is because the fact of look at episode one. Arguably, there was a certain percentage of people who didn't know nothing about the Tuscaloosa massacre slash situation that happened. And now a lot of people know about it because of this grandfather iconic like comic mediums such as Watchmen, like displays and convey the point of the Tuscaloosa massacre that occurred back then in history. And I feel like that's honestly groundbreaking, arguably in a sense. I mean, yeah, if people do go in the DC Black Museum, they probably would see that, but I would still argue over the fact that, well, maybe as a medium, since Watchmen has HBO Watchmen have provided or displayed the fact of this, I feel like Watchmen in in the Black Museum might make his route in the museum. Whether they may make a button like the iconic smiley button in there and show why that they pointed out the Tuscaloosa massacre to also more symbolicism over like just racial prejudice over history and etc. And just all the problems about it in the show as well too. And just honestly the main character like Angela fighting against it and just trying to find the truth. I feel like to this point, I feel like she's not only just fighting for what's right overall and fighting for the streets, but she also fighting for the truth and fighting against, just white supremacy as a whole as well too. And anything corrupt overall. But honestly, those are my thoughts, and I strongly again feel like this show needs to stay because we, as a people, especially people of color, we do need this as a show. We strongly do need this as a show. But please leave a like if you like this video. Please subscribe, and also please watch any other videos if you enjoyed this one. And also, please check in for my content as well too, and subscribe, so you can know when I make new content. Thank you and bye.